Good evening, everybody. Thanks for joining Binging the Force with Rocky Mountain Fan Force. Today we're going to be watching Jedi Tales of the Jedi, Episode 3, Choices. And this is the continuing story of Count Dooku, Fall from Grace with the Jedi. Today I'm joined by Michael, Dale, Jonathan, and myself. My name's James Anderson. I'm the chapter rep. And I'd like to have these guys go ahead and introduce themselves real quick.
Hi, Michael, kind of the producer, and just to remind people that we are going live on 3 different platforms tonight. We're going live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. We're going to see what happens when we actually show the video. I'm going to predict that we're going to get kicked off on at least one of them. So that's why we're going to have 3 options. And then we'll still have the video afterwards available for people in YouTube. But we'll find out what goes on there. There will be a live chat as well. So if you want to join us by chat, feel free. And if we see it, we may actually respond to it towards the end of the show.
I'm Jonathan. I'm here to make snide comments and quippy remarks, and death to all Womperats.
I'm Dale. I like Star Wars, including this episode we're about to watch. That's all.
Again, I'm James. Thanks for joining us tonight. Reminder, Saturday we are having a get-together at Crown Burgers. You can find it in the events tab at our Facebook page, Rocky Mountain Fan Force. And also Jonathan or Michael's given some information at the bottom where you can find our YouTube location, Binging the Force, where you can rewatch this or join us every week on Tuesday for the live stream. Thanks for joining us. Michael, whenever you're ready, you can take it away.
Okay, and we are available on all podcast platforms as well. So anywhere you get podcasts in your app, you should be able to find us, Binging the Force. Is that all we have? Dale, didn't have a question or anything that we could talk about, or any discussion points or anything?
How about this? When I mentioned the species Miralan, what Star Wars character do you picture?
Miraland.
Yeah.
Is that like a Disney Galaxy's Edge thing? Mirrorland? Star Wars Land? No?
It's actually it is the species for Luminara, Unduli, and Barriss Offee, which there's a new character introduced in this episode that's also this species.
Okay, I was going to ask because I know in this episode coming up that species is represented. So that's the name of the species of the master that is the focus of the episode tonight.
Yes, we see very briefly.
Okay, good to know. Okay, well, I will go ahead and transition us into watching them.
Dale, is that Baby Yoda with a beer on your shirt?
It is. It's for the audio. It says "Beer is the way." Yeah.
How could you?
It helps me combine my love of Star Wars and beer. So.
Is it just me, or have I noticed that a lot of episodes and movies all start with a ship appearing or a ship kind of moving in as a Star Wars motif?
I think that's a prequel thing for sure.
Yeah. So Master Khatri is so the focus of this episode is Mace Windu, who we're seeing chronologically for the first time, and Count Dooku, who we're seeing, what about 10 years after. This one is 44 BBY. This is episode 3 of Tales of the Jedi. What we watched last week, just so everyone knows, was episode 2, not episode 1, which I had said initially, and then Jonathan kind of followed me on that. This is episode 3 of Tales of the Jedi. The episode is called Choices, and it takes place 44 BBY, and it's a mission of just 2 Jedi, but instead of a mission between a master and a Padawan or a master and an apprentice, it's interesting. We're seeing a mission of 2 masters. And I would guess the reason why is because what they're doing is they're supposed to be picking up the body of a slain Jedi Master and actually a council member. So I guess that's what would necessitate 2 fairly high up Master Jedis, neither of whom were actually on the council. That's actually what they just discussed was there was already a dispute between them about the fact that, Mace is just saying, we're here to just pick up the body. And Dooku's like, no, we're here to investigate the murder.
right? You don't send two Jedi Masters to pick up a body. That's implied in their mandate, as they like to say.
And that's how Dooku definitely reads it.
This
but
is
Mace,
a big deal, yeah.
In the discussion between them, they definitely point out that Mace is a rule follower. Mace is a by-the-book Jedi Master. Dooku is not.
Yeah, that last episode showed, Dooku with Qui-Gon. It was the master-apprentice relationship. This is like just two beat cops. We're like, oh, we just got to go do our job here.
Which I don't know that we've really seen that in terms of. Well, I'm guessing there probably is a lot more in Clone Wars. I need to watch more Clone Wars. Hopefully I will during the course of this. But, I mean, in terms of seeing a mission of two Jedi, which it seems like that's a standard thing, a standard operating procedure, is to send two Jedi, on a mission to do something like this, but sending two Master Jedi instead of a Master and Apprentice. That seems to be an unusual situation here. Yeah, so the situation seems to be that the Jedi was dispatched for a situation with the senator, because it's always about a senator, and not a dissimilar situation than the last episode, where it's a situation where the senator is having issues with rebellion among the people, and so the Jedi Master was sent to just observe, but wouldn't. Refused to not accompany the senator to discuss the situation with the rebels, and in the course of doing that, was murdered. Yeah, so they're demanding, basically, Dooku's demanding to investigate the scene of the crime, basically to investigate what it looks like, where he was supposed to go speak to the rebels, and she insisted on going with him, and she was murdered.
Yeah, these guys seem really evasive and rather nervous, especially when they want to go see. When Count Dooku says, "Let's go ahead and check out where this happened," and it's interesting that Mace kind of says this is not regular protocol. Again, Dooku is one of these Jedi that kind of doesn't necessarily follow the rules, but he's onto something.
Yeah. I mean, shouldn't they be like sensing something in the Force? Right, like I guess Mace is like so focused, he's not like tapping into the Force and be like, wait a minute, something's fishy here, right? Like Dooku definitely does, but Mace is
Mace. It seems it's like they're very much establishing this difference between them, this difference of method between them. That Mace is a by the book. He is like the rule follower. He's like, should we just report this to the council? And Dooku's like, wouldn't you want us to investigate you if this had happened to you? And don't you think she, the Jedi Master they're investigating, wouldn't you think she would do this for you?
One of the things I liked about episode 2 was the fact that Obi-Wan is kind of playing a detective, right? He was trying to figure out what was going on, what's this mystery that he's trying to solve. And so in this one, you also get to see Count Dooku being the detective, Jedi detective, right? Coming to, fall lineup near you. And the Jedi detective is trying to figure out what's going on, but he's not like, I don't know if there's a way to use the Force to figure out what happened, but he's using all the physical clues in the space to try to figure out, something's off here. What's off? I like that. I think that's good. It's good writing.
Yeah, so they're questioning.
Oh, go ahead.
No, please go ahead, Dale.
I was going to say, excellent visuals in this scene. The mist, the dust in the forest here is like, compared to when Clone Wars animation first started, like it's just knocking it out of the park.
Yeah. And him like picking up the dirt and like the dirt sifting through his fingers and looking at the scorch marks and really doing like you said, a cop kind of procedural, where like there's where he's investigating a murder here, because it seems like it's unusual for a Jedi to get murdered. And they talk about that, the only way it would have happened is if it was surprise, and the only way it would have happened is if it was a surprise from someone you trusted, which foreshadowing for episode 3 there,
Yeah. And of course, these guards fire the Jedi, and it's like, that's not going to do you any good.
Yep.
So bring some droids into it. Then, now it's a little bit of a battle. Not much.
Yes. As soon as they question what's going on, the senator's security forces start attacking them, because they say like, okay, why is your ship not scorched at all? If you're saying that it was rebels attacking you and your ship, and that's how the Jedi got hurt, why isn't there no signs of an attack on you? The only sign of attack is outward from the ship.
Yeah. Is this their first time covering up a murder? Because they did a real lousy job of that.
Yeah, definitely some basic mistakes there.
I mean, as soon as the two Jedi showed up, they should have known that it was all over, right?
Yeah, yeah.
There's no way they can keep getting away with it.
Yeah, they should have known this was going to be fair and clear. Of course, the senator just got killed in the course of the attack, which was definitely not supposed to happen, on either side. And Mace is not thrilled about that.
Right.
Yeah, that's his not thrilled look on his face.
Yeah.
It's the same as every other look. Yeah.
Yeah, and so now we start to get the answers about why it happened, because clearly what we've now discovered is that the guards are the ones who actually killed the Jedi Master.
He's spilling it. He's just spilling all the beans.
And this is similar to like last episode, right? Like you have, a people or a planet being used by off-planet or corporate interests, right?
And channeled by their senator. So, I mean, we definitely have a distinct political theme here running through Tales of the Jedi, which leads to, the prequels, where we just got taken off of YouTube. So prediction achieved. So, we definitely have a theme here of corruption in the Senate, of the senators being above the people and acting above the people and kind of taking away the resources of the people and living for themselves and not for the people they serve. And the Jedi being kind of in the middle and not necessarily not being a malignant force, but just being, I don't know what's the best word to say, would be almost a lazy force, in that they're just defaulting to the rules of working with the Senate and doing what the Senate asks, rather than really questioning, should they be following what the Senate is asking them to do. It's a definite theme that we're establishing here, a pattern, and Dooku's seeing it. And okay, I don't know, James, you can't see anything?
Yeah,
I can hear you guys. Keep going. Yeah.
Okay, it's got to be on your end.
Yeah.
But a definite theme of this political kind of system where the senators are hoarding the resources, not supporting the people. The Jedi are essentially, in most people's perception, just enforcers of the Senate's will, rather than independent arbiters of peace and justice and good. And I think all of this is all, and I mentioned this last week, but I mean, I think the theme of it all is to help justify the prequels and what happens in the prequels and the downfall of both the Jedi and the Republic, in that, we'll get into it obviously much later in terms of what Palpatine does. But I think what we're establishing here is that it didn't happen in a vacuum, that it's not just one evil dude, deciding to, manipulate all of this stuff. There was stuff there going on that he was able to benefit from, in terms of the Senate and the Jedi not looking great to the people, and the people almost ready for someone else to take over,
Something is rotten in the state of Denmark.
Yeah. Exactly.
And that planet they're on, Raxus, ends up coming back in Clone Wars.
Okay.
And it aligns with the Separatist and Dooku. It doesn't actually become a part of the Republic. So even with this little interference they're having now, it still doesn't end up benefiting the Republic and the Jedi Council.
Yeah.
And here we see now 20 years almost before, about 12 years before Episode 1, the Jedi Council, and of course neither Dooku nor Mace Windu are on the Council, but we see Jedi from the Council that we do know from later, including
do we know everybody there?
I don't know if we know everybody.
Faces, but I don't know about everybody.
There's some new faces, but Ki-Adi Mundi was a little more modest at the funeral there. He kept his head.
His head over his head, yeah.
Yeah, that's one that we definitely knew was the long-headed guy.
They just like set fire to that casket. What was that? The bright light?
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. I didn't know if that was some lightsaber-like disintegration thing that disintegrates the body or something. I don't know.
It looks ceremonial, but I don't know if it was also like a functional crematorium or something too.
And here we see.
Is there a Jedi spirit going up into the sky or somewhere else, or one with the Force.
One
That
with
was
the-
kind of interesting.
And here we see
That's cool.
Mace Windu getting made a member of the council, that he got made a member of the council when that council member, who this episode was about, their murder, that's how he got his spot. And Dooku's like, did you know that beforehand? And he's like, no, I didn't. I was there. I got the mission at the same time you got the mission. I had no idea. And but now now is how Mace gets on the council, and he's on the council, and Dooku is not.
You could get shut out. Yeah.
Yeah, the
Another
rule
step
follower,
towards
got
disillusionment.
put on the council, and the rule breaker, or he's not. I mean, he is breaking rules, but he's breaking rules in the pursuit of justice for this other Jedi. You can really start to understand where Dooku's coming from. That there were some valid reasons for him having a problem with the Jedi Council and what the Jedi.
I mean, he did find out the truth, right? Like Mace Windu wouldn't have, but Dooku did. I mean, his methods may not have been perfect, but he was the one who was invested, and he's the one who found out what was really going on. Yeah, some bad things happened, some sad things happened, but would you have rather the truth not get out and just everything still be buried and the people still be exploited by their senator? No. The separatists were right. Hashtag.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not ready to say the separatists were right, but the separatists had a point, I mean, that violent overthrow by a dictator, was not necessarily the solution to the problem, but there definitely was a problem there, and it's interesting that that's the way we're going with this. That I don't know if Dave Filoni's operating off of like many discussions with George Lucas in terms of where he was going with on it. If this is some longer term thought process that George Lucas had put into why the story of the prequels, because it's really so hard, because the prequels, and we'll get there when we talk about them, but I mean, they do such a bad job of really conveying that. I mean, you really have to dig into it to the minutia level to really understand with the dialogue, what are the political forces going on, because you've got so much going on with the love story and all that kind of stuff and other things that, and I'm with the chorus of everyone who says that, politics and trade routes and everything, that was great, fun, fascinating stuff for, episode 1 through 3. But that's the thing, is it seemed like it's a really interesting story and a really interesting political idea and theme that just didn't get explored properly in the prequels, and right. Dave Filoni's making it work now.
Right, and with that system in particular, with it coming back in Clone Wars, the episode Heroes on Both Sides, you get to see it's a repeating idea, and then it comes up again in Bad Batch and things. When it's the Empire, it's outside forces, taking over a planet, and they're like, no, we've got our own thing here. We're going to stay independent because it's already working. And as far as Filoni goes, I thought that episode was similar to the last one we watched, which Filoni wrote that episode with Dooku and Qui-Gon, and then Charles Murray was the writer for this. So different writer, but very similar idea. So I wonder, how much discussion there was as far as that script went. If Filoni had a hand in that, or just to outline. And
he's the executive producer, he's the showrunner, so he would have been involved with all of the stories. So
I thought it was very interesting how similar they were, but this episode had its own set of writers.
Yeah. That's standard in TV. Is they have what's called a writer's room, where all the writers are working together, and writers get their names attached to a particular script when it actually gets aired, but the executive producer, who's / the showrunner, has their hand in all the scripts. So whether their names on an individual script or not, they are definitely involved in the story of every episode.
Makes sense. Cool. And that's the last time we get to see Dooku with the dark beard. It's so 12 years before the prequels. I'm wondering, is he already using the Just for Men, or was he so stressed about Mace getting put on the council that he's like, that's it, that's the last straw, I'm just letting it go gray, and I'm looking for.
Well, I think there's another Tales of the Jedi episode coming up, right?
Yeah, one more.
And Yaddle. So we'll do a beard watch See if he starts to get some gray in there.
Yeah, and I was thinking because we're going to break up episode 1 into chunks, we could potentially do that episode like in between 2 of the chunks, because that's really where it happens. Is the next episode with Dooku is basically runs concurrently with episode 1 and is happening during episode 1. Right. So we'll kind of see if we can slip that in between two of the portions of episode 1 when we go over that. But
he looks good. He looks good with the dark hair.
I do like that it was the familiar Dooku lightsaber hilt, but blue blade, of course. So
right.
So he must have.
Well, of course, Mace Windu's purple blade, as we all know, the story of that when George Lucas asked Samuel L. Jackson to be in Star Wars, and he said, "Well, I have one demand," and his one demand was, "I want a purple lightsaber."
Right.
It's the only Jedi who's ever had a purple lightsaber.
Yeah, I think we're starting to delve into a little bit about how the Jedi are kind of different. They follow this dogma, right? The Jedi order, and they have to follow these rules. But there's a lot of them that I think question what they're doing. They're following these rules, etc. And they have different personalities, different approaches. That's something that seems like the last couple of years they've been delving into a little bit more in the shows. Kind of the Jedi were put on a pedestal at a certain point in Star Wars lore that they that no one questions that maybe they're a religious cult, honestly. I mean, and they do a really poor job in even preparing themselves for the Sith. How do they not detect them? How does Master Yoda not detect, the Sith coming down the road, so to speak?
Well, I'm definitely looking forward to, I think it's still at least a year away, of the Acolyte, where we're going to go 100 years before, all of this happened, and start to see the beginnings of the Sith kind of coming back. And so we'll get like, for me, my favorite thing in Star Wars, and be a recurring thing for me to say this, is Jedi in their prime. Is definitely my favorite thing. And so we definitely got to see some of that here. I mean, and especially like when the Senator's forces start to attack, Windu and Dooku, how they react. And I mean, it's just, Jedi in the full height of their powers, with full expertise and all that stuff, with the exception of Clone Wars, we really haven't still gotten a lot of that. And so I really look forward to, now we're seeing this Jedi Council and Jedi who now we're learning, were really waning in their influence and in their respect from the people because of following the Senate and the Senate leading them kind of in places to be what they really should not have been, which was kind of blindly.
Yeah, the Jedi are almost like their own separate. They're almost separate from the Senate, right? They're really not. There's no Senate oversight committees on them. They just kind of do what they want. And a lot of people in the galaxy don't like them. They think that they're an extension of the Senate, which they're kind of not, but they kind of are. It's kind of I don't know. I know personally, I'm trying to question what the Jedi were and what they mean. Maybe did they have a little too much protection, and they weren't scrutinized enough, and so many people trusted them.
And that's why I'm looking forward to the Acolyte
going at least job. Keeping peace and stability in the galaxy. They basically failed. So I don't know.
Yeah, that's why I'm looking forward to seeing at least 100 years or earlier back to see, before that kind of started to be on the wane, when it was more, the Jedi were more respected and more an independent force for good, I definitely look forward for more of that in Star Wars media.
During this era, they definitely come off a bit culty.
Yeah. Well, we know that there was, I mean, what do they call it? High Republic or whatever. That's like, at least, I'm not as familiar with all the kind of from the books and everything in comics.
Those are the newer books
that have all been covered in other Star Wars stuff. But I know that there are eras in which, the Jedi were much better.
That's kind of really the height of their powers, really, because, I mean, they literally, like, I think the High Republic, like the first novel I read was that basically they were able to manipulate like hyperspace lanes and stuff, because there was this one thing that went through a hyperspace lane and it took out this planet and just kept going, and they had to use all their Jedi powers to basically stop it. It was kind of interesting.
I look forward to seeing more of that in future shows because I know future stuff is starting to explore more eras, and like I said, in the Acolyte, like I don't like going back as much, but in this case, like it's worth going back to see Jedi, in a different era, and to see the beginnings of kind of this Sith souring of of kind of how it came out. And I mean, I think that's what we're starting to see. If I remember some of the stuff I've read and heard about the Acolyte, is that it's basically the beginnings of the downfall of the Jedi, and it starts about 100 years before before all of this. Well, just to let you all know, we did stay up on Twitch. We did stay up on Facebook. So next week when we go live, we'll just skip YouTube for going live, and we'll go live on the other two platforms, and then we'll
Taught us already
after the fact.
Yeah. Cool.
Sounds good.
Cool.
Well, thanks for leading us tonight, James.
You betcha. Thanks for setting it up, Michael.
What's next on the docket, James?
Next on the docket is going to be next week, Tuesday, Tales of the Jedi, episode 4, The Sith Lord. So I think this will be kind of a.
I thought we were doing next week was going to be the first episode 1.
Oh, you want to do episode 1?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
We're going to do episode 1.
Yeah, it's Life and Death.
Episode 1 of Tales of Jedi, or episode 1?
Sorry, episode 1 of Tales of the Jedi. The baby
You gotta be sure it's Star Wars.
So Tales of the Jedi, episode 1. Okay.
Yes.
Well, awesome.
AKA the Baby Ahsoka episode.
Yeah, the Baby Ahsoka episode.
Yeah.
I think we'll just call it that. Okay, well, if we're all ready, then I'm going to go ahead and take us out. And thanks, and we'll see everyone next week.
Bye, everybody.
See you guys Saturday.
Bye.
Bye.